Welcome to part 2. In this video, I'm going to take you through some of the harness options for using a VRS to rescue a victim. So the first question, what's the advantage of using a harness? Well, to start with, the victim's definitely going to appreciate it a lot more. It's going to be more comfortable and a lot less traumatic, especially on the conscious victim, than taking your system and wrapping it around their waist. Beyond that, in certain situations, it's actually going to make the rescue or the extraction safer and more efficient, especially when we're dealing with an unconscious victim. Now, your decision on whether or not to apply a harness to a victim really comes down to time. And time is based on the conditions that you're dealing with at the extraction point, more specifically the amount of smoke and heat present, as well as your proficiency in applying these harnesses. Now, as you can imagine, there are a lot of options and variations to harnesses out there. All you gotta do is go on YouTube and you're gonna find a ton of them. In this video, I'm gonna just take you through the 3 that I prefer, simply because I think they're relatively easy to learn, and once you do master them, you can apply them to the victim very quickly, and they work extremely well for the applications that they're intended for. Now, to apply these harnesses, you're gonna need 4 pieces of equipment, 2 carabiners and 2 webbing loops. The first webbing loop that you're going to want is a 5.5 to 6 foot loop. Now, a 5.5 foot loop is made from a 12.5 foot length of 1-inch tubular webbing, while the 6 foot is made from about a 13.5 foot length. I keep mine stored in a straight roll, starting with the water knot, and I store it in my left pants pocket. The next webbing loop that you're going to want is a 9 foot loop. Now, a 9 foot is made from a 20 foot length of 1-inch tubular webbing. This one's stored in a double-up daisy chain with a standard safety. I keep mine stored with a modified quick release. The difference on the standard version is the tail's pulled all the way through. On the version with the modified quick release, all you do is you just pull a bite of webbing through. This just allows for a faster, more efficient deployment. I keep this 9 foot also stored in my left pants pocket. As far as the 2 carabiners, the one that I prefer is a black diamond, rock lock, key-style screw gate. You're going to want to keep one pre-attached to your 9 foot, and I keep a second one connected to my code for easy access and rapid deployment. These 4 pieces of equipment are pretty much going to set you up for all the harness options that we're going to take you through. Now, as far as how and where you store this equipment is really personal preference. You definitely don't have to do what I do, guys. But a couple factors that you should consider, okay? You want to store it in a manner that's not going to pose you a problem, okay? In other words, you don't want your webbing to pose an entanglement hazard to you as a rescuer. And in the end, you want to be able to access it and deploy it quickly and efficiently, because time for this type of situation is critical, okay? So with that being said, let's take a closer look at the harnesses. First harness I'm going to take you through is the seat harness. Again, this harness is going to be applied to the conscious victim, whether that victim is a civilian or a firefighter. So I'm going to be using my 5.5 foot loop. Pull that out. I'm going to take the water knot, and it's going to go in the middle of the victim's lower back. Then I'm going to draw the webbing up, but I still want to keep the length low so I can reach in between the victim's legs when I'm in the front of them and still locate it. So I've gathered both webbing loops up on the side. I balanced them out with one hand. I'm going to reach in between the legs and find that lower loop. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lower loop and I'm going to pass it over my hand. So Danny, can you get a close-up of this?
Yes.
Let me know when you're there.
Yep.
You can see that I actually still have the 2 side lengths of webbing in my hand. I'm taking a carabiner off my coat, my secondary black diamond, and I'm going to capture both of those lengths of webbing. Then I'm going to spin the carabiner so the opening is away. The next thing that we need to do is pull the webbing up. So I'll turn this way against Nick. I'm going to pull the webbing up high on the victim's thigh. You can direct the victim to do the same thing. So I want the webbing around the waist, low, in the middle of the back, and then I want to pull these loops up high in the thigh underneath the butt. That's going to give me a little extra webbing in the front. Again, this is a 5.5 foot loop made from a 12.5 foot length. And that's why some firefighters like to go with that 13.5 foot length for a 6 foot loop. Now what I need to do is I need to start to size this on Nick. So I'm going to start, you still got a close up?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start to twist the webbing up, pull on it to try to get a snug fit. And then, can you see this okay, Danny?
Yep.
what I'm going to do is I pull the webbing out. I need to capture one side or the other, right or left, it doesn't matter. So I'm capturing the waist webbing and the one that goes behind Nick's legs, and I'm going to capture both of those. And then the carabiner pretty much stays in place. Now, if I'm going to go primary deployment, that's how I'm going to attach the victim and lower him out the window, I'm going to keep this carabiner open. Reach back, I'm going to pull out the hook, and I'm going to capture the hitching slot, lock this carabiner off. And then I'm also going to capture the hook. And then this gets attached to my harness. If it's not pre-attached in an integrated system, I would draw up. And I'm ready to take this victim over the balcony railing or out the window. If I'm going to be doing secondary deployment or the burn technique, where I want to keep the hook available for me, I don't want to lower it out the window, then I work off, instead of the lead end of the system, I work off the back end of the system. So you have a couple options here. Once I actually fasten this harness and size, or fasten the carabiner size the harness to Nick, I could lock this one off right away, because now I'm going to work off the back end of my system. And I got two choices here. I can connect right into this carabiner, okay? Or, which is the easiest, is clip right in, or you can capture the other side, lock it off, and now I make that hitch through the hook, and I'm ready to use the burn technique to lower Nick out the window, and then I have the hook to bail out after him if need be. So that's the seat harness. This next harness is a full body harness. We're still going to be using this harness on a conscious victim, but the difference between this one and the seat harness is I'm using it if there's a threat of that victim becoming inverted. On a seat harness, I'm capturing just the waist and the legs. So if Nick went unconscious in the middle of the descent and he flipped over, there's a potential for him to fall out of a seat harness. By using this variation of the full body harness, I'm going to be capturing Nick's chest and shoulders. So if he did go unconscious, there's a lot less likely of a chance of him falling out of a full body harness if he became inverted. So for this harness, I'm using that 9-foot webbing loop. Keep it in my left pocket. So I'm going to pull the webbing out and deploy it. A lot of similarities between this full body harness and the seat harness. So I'm going to almost start the same way. I need to offset that water knot, okay? I'm going to place the water knot, just like I did with the seat harness, in the middle of the victim's lower back. So I'm just going to have Nick kind of come my way. So there it is, should be in the middle of the victim's back. I'm going to have it turn away. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be drawing the webbing up, just like I did. But remember, I'm dealing with a lot more webbing now than what I had before. I have a 9-foot loop instead of a 5.5 or a 6-foot loop. I still keep that length, so turn a little bit toward the camera, there you go. In between the victim's legs. So I'm going to keep this taut. I'm going to reach in between the victim's legs, locate that webbing, keep everything snug as much as I can. If that water knot gets offset, it's no big deal. We're just trying to keep it out of the way. I take that lower length, just like I did with the seat harness. Here's where everything is exactly identical. Now I'm going to pull the webbing up. I still want to reach up between or behind the victim and pull these lengths. So turn away from the camera again, Nick. You can see the back. I still want to get these lengths of webbing, okay, high up on the thigh, underneath the butt. Okay, that water knot offset a little bit. The difference is now, you see all of this right now, Danny?
Yes.
The difference here is that I am not clipping in. I have to capture the arms and shoulders now. So I direct the victim to put the arms through each loop. And see how I kept the carabiner in my hand? So turn my way again, Nick. I'm going to come in and I'm going to connect in, and then I'm going to lock this one off right away. You got that, Danny?
Yep.
Now, this harness seems like it's snug on Nick, but it actually isn't, okay? See, as I pull on this, I'm removing that carabiner again from my coat. That's why it's really nice to have that secondary carabiner easily accessible. I clip into that loop. Okay, and how much you have to size the seat harness or how much you need to size the full body harness is gonna vary depending on the size of the victim. Some cases this might be so snug you may not have to do that. But what I'm going to do right now for Nick is I'm going to twist this up, I'm going to keep pulling on it, Because if I gather it up, there's a chance that his clothing is going to gather up into the webbing. So I want to keep pulling it away from his body. And then once I feel like I got it fairly secure on him, I'm going to come in and I'm going to slip right through again. Carabiners away. If I'm going to be doing primary deployment, I do not lock that carabiner. Pull out the hook. I'm going to clip in, lock it off, capture the hook. Clip it to me. If I'm not pre-attached or integrated, draw the system up. That's primary deployment. Alright, now when I'm doing secondary deployment, or the burn technique, hook's going to be kept away. Back into the system, remember I can either connect right into this carabiner, which is the easiest one, this one would be locked off, or if I want to get really close to the victim, connect in, lock off, capture the hook close to the body, and now I can lower, nick out using the burn technique.